3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome to Murder Moose.
Hey, Murder Moose.
Part of the Slash and Cast podcast network. And as I see today, we're announcing we're doing our third annual Halloween con in October, which is dope.
Wait, what?
But, yeah, we just got announced in our Discord and shit and on the Twitters.
No way.
Yeah. Yes way. Yeah, very nice. But
Holy.
I'm Rod.
Hey, Rod.
This beautiful man next to me is Josh. What is up, you sexy bitch?
Oh, you know, I've had a good weekend, man. It's still the weekend. We never ever record on the weekends. Rod is a busy bitch. Yeah. So now
I have to work second shift on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm barely getting out. Like, I'm gonna have to stream before I go to work, and then I'm barely getting out in time to go talk American Psycho with T and them. So I'm gonna do that on Wednesday, but we're all good, man. It's so it's only for this week. We're trying to wrap up some tests and stuff, and the other guy who does my job with me, has little kids, so I'm I'll work second shift. So it's because he has kids to family to worry about. I just have the wife and the dogs, so here I am. So yeah, we're recording it's 1 o'clock on Sunday for us. So
nice.
It's I'm drinking Monster while recording, which normally wouldn't happen at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. So because then I would be wired until 3 a.m. or some shit like that, right? So
nice.
So how the fuck are you, you beautiful bastard?
I'm good, man. My old bass player had his bachelor party last night, so I was the DD, but also the heavy metal scream. It was so funny because we went to one of those classic ones that has the rooms you can get, so you can just the Korean type ones, and we were just putting on a whole bunch. There's a ton of Slipknot and all these weird metal songs but then every other song, it didn't matter. Everyone was just doing a weird and so my voice is this morning. So yeah, I was going to town. It was fun.
That's a lot of screaming, especially if you're doing it for hours on end, and you're
and we're the only
sober
ones. Yeah. I was having some Red Bulls last night too. So yeah, stayed up late, sang my heart out. It was fun.
Yeah, we were gonna so we were talking with Continue about doing the Shining, the Dr. Sleep thing, and she couldn't do it tonight or today. So we she didn't even stream today, which is weird for her on Sundays. So yeah, we're gonna move that to after our episode 100, because we should be doing the KPP. We're talking The Fly next week is the plan for this whole.
That's gonna be a fun one. I was preemptive because I thought we were doing the Shining one, so I was preemptive and did my Shining alternate poster, and I fucking love how it turned out. It's a really fun one. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna do one for Dr. Sleep. Just well, if there's time, I might, but I don't know how I would even showcase it. I usually like to do one every episode to kind of coincide with the Murder Moose episode. This is the first time, time constraints, whatever, and the fact that I did the wrong movie and poster for this week anyways. But this week, we're doing day shift, and all their posters and all their creative for the movie is so well done that I felt I couldn't. It's in a style that I would like to do anyways. And with all their high-res images and their digital conversion of to digital art, it looks fantastic. I love how it all turned out, and I don't think with my time constraint I could add to it or make it better. I normally feel I can kind of put my own flair on it and make it something that I'm proud of. They've made me proud. I love what they've done. So
it's very your style, and I think I have an idea. If you do Dr. Sleep, do it those posters when I know with Star Wars they've done them where it's 3 posters in one, or 3 posters that connect together. Maybe do something that's it connects to the Shining poster. They if you put them next to each other, it's one poster, but broken apart into 2 posters, and maybe do something like that where you like, you do. That would be cool, right? Like it's like.
I don't know how I would do that because usually when you do something like that, you have to like think ahead, and this one is like it's already cropped in. So
you could also,
I could do it in the same like aesthetic for sure.
Or you could come in and maybe like touch up a side, right? Like I would say you would put The Shining on the left because it came first, and then you do something like you could either put something there or you just do something with the edge and do it. I mean, you don't have to. I'm just throwing ideas out there, but
I like that though. I like that that direction for sure. Like to think about it as, but I think that's where I would kind of have to go because it's like the continuation anyway. So I don't know. I really want to. I'm excited to rewatch Dr. Sleep. I'm glad we're finally getting to this episode because it is a movie that we've talked about a lot, and now going into Flanagan's like catalog and talking about all his stuff a lot on the show too. It's like I have a deeper appreciation for who he is as like a creative, and I think I'll see that more in that movie and the direction he was trying to take it, but. If I see it the same way at the 3/4 mark of the movie where it just kind of goes off the rails, I hate when that shit happens.
I mean, like we're gonna have to continue when we do it, but I'm interested in diving into the director's cut just because of how Jerry talks about the director's cut.
And is that what we're gonna do?
I think so. I don't know what the time difference is though, and with it being 2 movies and stuff, you have to go. Well,
I've already watched The Shining, so. I just did that because I thought we were doing it today. So Shining is already, and to be honest, I've already watched The Shining. I think that was like my 10th time seeing it. I was really obsessed with that movie at one time, and it holds up so well. It's so well done. It's just like in trying to come up with a few things to put on the poster that are like iconic. The whole fucking movie and like half of the shots in it are iconic, and it was so hard to like whittle it down to the few items I did. I felt like, and also looking at just the sheer amount of like insanely well done alternate posters there are for The Shining already. I didn't want to choose images that were used over and over again, so I went with a little more obscure photo selections to put on there as well. So, I don't know.
It's one of those movies though that's like so iconic with even people who aren't horror people, right? Like it's an iconic film. It's like I think it's Kubrick's most talked about film by far, right? And it's like 100%. Just saying a lot. And so you sit there and go, yeah, there's some. I mean, like you have things like Room 234, the documentary about it, and all that stuff. My only problem with that movie now to this day is like the biggest problem I say is like Kubrick being the giant dickhole he was while shooting it and just terrorizing the poor woman and just like destroying her mental health. Like that's shit that like if a director did what he did to her today, they would get canceled really bad because it's like you're like ruining people's mental health doing this shit, and which is, I mean, it's just we live in a different world than we did in 1980, right? Like it's a different fucking world, and so it's like it's not anything to like shit all over the movie too bad about it or anything like that, but it's like something you have to keep in mind. Because the different world and like 42 years later, from it coming out. So it will be an interesting talk though, for sure. And I'm stoked because I haven't watched Dr. Sleep since the theater. So it will be a good dive back in, So I think like I finished up Sandman this week and really enjoyed it. And I know a lot of people. So
what is that about?
So Sandman's based off of the comic book from Neil Gaiman, I think is his name, but he's a comic book artist, and it's really like you taking ideas of these abstract ideas like dreams and desire and things like that, and you're turning them into these things called the endless, who are kind of help the world. They're basically created by humans or the results of human like entities, right? And they basically help the world hold together. And so this the main character's Dream, who's in charge of the dream world, he gets this there's this wealthy dude at the beginning of the 1900s who is trying to summon death using magic. Who Death is his, like, their siblings, right? Is his sister, and accidentally summons Dream, and when he does, he like basically captures him for like 100 years, and like won't let him go because he's afraid he's gonna come after him, and so it's that, and then you kind of have all the consequences of the Dream Master, kind of the Sandman, being like taken away from his realm for 100 years and all this shit. And it's real good, man. It's real, like, they do some weird things, like from a cinematography, like they use like a wider, like they they stretch the image a little bit, like with the aspect ratio, so it seems more dreamlike, and it's very gothy and very like. I kept seeing people going, "This is a starter kit to making millions of more goth kids like in the next whatever amount of years." It's really good. It's really weird. It's really like, I guess there are differences to like the comics and stuff like that, and like, and a lot of it just seems like the differences have a lot to do with like the reality of shooting this stuff in, you know, compared to a comic book. Like one of the big things, I saw a video comparing it, and it was like, in the comics, Dream, the character has like these eyes that are like space, like it's like like blackness and stars, and they were talking about, they were trying to do this like with CGI. They tried it with context lenses, and the problem was it kept being that the actor wasn't able to emote like he needed to, as you know, as an actor, as not like just, you know, a comic on the page, right? And so he just has his regular eyes and stuff like that. And it's stuff like that, but I really enjoyed what it did with it, not knowing anything about it besides it being an iconic graphic novel series, you know. But it's real entertaining, and it's 10 episodes, and it's just like, most of them are pretty self-contained, right? They'll have individual stories, but then there's an overarching. It kind of like breaks into two part episodes. Like the first 5, there's a big story arc, and then the last 5, there's a story arc, but like they're all connected anyway. So, but it's really, really good, and I would suggest you watch it if you like fantasy and weird comic stuff, and it's entertaining. So
nice.
Yep.
I like it. I like it. I don't know, like there's too much right now coming out all at the same time, and it's not a bad thing. It's giving me a list, and it's creating that list for me. Netflix is honing in, and I think it's honestly because it's getting close to like the fall season and stuff like that, which I'm always totally excited about. I hope that we or I not hope, I know we're getting more Fear Street, and I'm fucking excited for that. And I just want more things down that avenue, because like slasher stuff, and like I went with my niece yesterday and saw Bodies, and I don't know, like, in watching all the trailers that came before it, because it is an A24 movie, but it's a Sony A24 movie. And honestly, Sony movies all suck. Every single one of them that I've seen, like, I don't know a single Sony movie that I would put above almost anything else. Like, Sony movies are just so mid-range. Like, they're seriously, to me, like Netflix, where we're going today, Netflix movies, they are very consistently very in the middle. This movie follows that same consistent, like, they don't, it's like they don't want it to be as the best thing it could ever be. They're really good at funding it well, shooting it really well, casting insanely well, because they have the money to fucking afford all the A-listers now. But for some reason, the execution and just overall, like, it's just like, yeah, that was satisfying, I guess. But it's never like, wow. I felt the exact same way about every Sony movie I kind of have ever seen, except for, like, you know, Morbius and like all the Marvel shit that they're doing. They don't understand what the fuck they have, and they don't do a good job.
That's why, like, with like the only reason Spider-Mans are as good as they are is because they're not all that really Sony's contributing to this is the fuckers that they've, bought in the 90s when Marvel was going out of business and they needed to sell properties to stay afloat. It is, I feel like Sony never, ever lets their creative people be creative. I think they're always meddling. They're always fucking around. They always have these people who have no fucking clue what they should be doing. Dude, that Uncharted movie is a fucking mess. Like, it is a mess. Like, it if you completely turn your brain off, it can be like, it's way better than Morbius. Morbius is one of the fucking worst movies I've ever seen. But like, it's just a mess. And like, how do you make Tom Holland look like an idiot? Like that movie, he hated his acting in it. Like, he's talking about taking a fucking acting break because of that shit like that, And it's like, I don't know, man. Like, there's so much with that, and it's just like they don't. We were talking about Prey last week, right? And how they just let him do his thing, right? They let him do this movie. They gave him budget and they let him do his thing. Yeah. And Sony is the like the epitome of not doing that, of interfering with everything, and going in. And it's just like, as a fucking whole, it's like I don't know. Because Sony, let's be real, Sony is a hardware company, and then like they're a hardware company. They make hardware. They have studios that make games for them, but they're all like second party studios. Sony doesn't make those games. They pay studios to okay, make this game for us. And they have all these entities and things that are theirs, like Sony, but like they're not the ones making any of it. It's just like their branding because they have these fucking studios. And it's just, dude, I think that the last really, really good thing they did with just Sony was Spider-Man 2. It's like the fucking Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2. And it's just like, I like
that was like before Marvel came and knew what the fuck they had and stuff. So I don't know, man. Like, it just Sony is just got to stop.
They just need to stop interfering. They just need to trust people and give them money, because they're fucking directors and presidents and whoever the fuck executives and producers who are making these decisions are just making. I don't know how Morpheus got as bad as it was. It's the same thing that was with that fucking Tom Cruise Mummy movie. Universal was trying to make a fucking Marvel Cinematic Universe and just shit. And Sony keeps going, we need Avengers money. And then they keep making the garbage that's just like, Jesus Christ, do you want people coming to the movies ever again? That's how bad that shit is. And you're just like, nah,
I
man.
don't know.
Yeah, it's a disaster. It's a disaster, man. For every PlayStation 5 they do, they shit in your cereal 7 times, and it's like I don't know how many bowls of shit cereal I can eat, Sony. How many bowls of shit cereal can I eat? Because it's way,
it's just bad. It's just bad. But that's Sony though. And I want Netflix. This movie almost reminds me a lot of that the newest Ryan Reynolds sci-fi movie that came out. It's like, yes, we have Ryan Reynolds. Yes, we have it could have been I still enjoyed it. Yeah. But you look back and it's just but what? But why? Why did I enjoy it though?
Okay, I'm gonna read the fucking synopsis of this and we'll dive into it. But okay, It says D-Shift. A hardworking blue-collar dad who just wants to provide a good life for his quick-witted 8-year-old daughter. His mundane San Fernando Valley pool cleaning job is the front for his real source of income, hunting and killing vampires. So I was saying this to my wife. We watched this together yesterday, and I was saying to her, I was like, these movies all have this really weird tone. And this one tone is a really odd thing with this film. And they also have this weird thing where half the time it feels like a R-rated movie, and then half the time it feels like a PG-13 movie, and so you have this weird tone, and then then they have these action sequences that are just like the end, like the last action sequence in this film is just like balls to the wall. I mean, not even the end one, like the one that's like 3/4 of the film in, but like
I felt like they did that a lot though with like the action. I felt like it was almost like too much, and then it too long, and then it would just be over. And they did a lot of the things over and over and over again, like the people like getting boom boom and like wire work, but then like bent in half, and like they would fall, and then they'd be in half again, and then they'd be in half again, and I'm like, do something else, man. We fucking saw that already. Like, I don't know.
Every time they shot, every time like Jamie Foxx shot a vampire and they scorpioned, like where I don't, if you don't know what a scorpion is when you like you crash and basically your feet hit the back of your head because you like it, so it looks like your feet are a scorpion tail, so it's called the scorpion. And they do it a lot, and it's like they start off with that grandma like at the very beginning of the film where it's like does it with her, and then like the action scene in the middle of the movie where like they're fighting that all the vampires in the house with the brothers is just like all like it's like scorpion. And the other oddity of this movie is the filters that they like. All the Netflix movies are like have such heavy camera filters, and I don't understand why. I mean, I don't know what it was with this one. Like this one had very yellows for a lot of the film, but it's like I don't know why they want these just like heavy color palettes all the time. Like all their movies use these heavy color.
They want to be super saturated and super. I don't know. Like it's what was that? That Archie show that they did, like that was the start of it.
Oh, you mean Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
Well, they did Sabrina too, but they also didn't they?
The other one was on CW. No, that was on CW.
No, but
had it on there, but
no, it was released at the same time on Netflix and CW. It was like
they were going to be correlated like together in the same universe, and then they didn't do it. They like kept Sabrina separate. Like it was
the Archie show was also on Netflix at the same time as CW. They did that at the same time. Riverdale. And Riverdale was the first time they really like chose a direction for like palette wise and aesthetic wise, and that became like everything to Netflix for some reason. And like if you're in the Netflix universe, you're part of Riverdale essentially, because like everything is like overly lit and saturated now. But I wonder like, because you got to think about like, yes, they're for Netflix, they are funding it, but there's got to be like a wheelhouse of like producers or something like that are making it aesthetically kind of feel like it all lives in the Netflix world.
Well, it's weird because I think we've talked about it before, but like I was talking to this on my stream. Yeah, they like have like Netflix approved cameras. So, like
yes, well, that has been a thing for a long time. Yeah. They want 4K, and it's expensive cameras on that list, right? So
so that, and then it's like, man, I think of that movie with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, another Ryan Reynolds movie which would have been, if you didn't have The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, would have been a complete disaster of a film.
It was just the whole film felt like fluff. But because they are so charismatic and they had a good like rapport, they made it entertaining just because they are like really good looking and entertaining. And you could tell they were just like having a fucking gas essentially.
Well, I mean, it's like this movie and Dave DeFranco and Jamie Foxx are the best parts when they're on the screen together and interacting with each other.
They both can just improvise and have fun. You could tell they were having fun. But also, because Jamie Foxx is so good, he made Snoop Dogg look like a fucking amateur, because he is, but every scene he was in, he looked like nervous to be on camera. It looked like. I was like, what the hell?
It was like, I was watching it, I'm like, they have him like dressed up like the Man in Black from Halloween kind of thing. Like he looked like the dude from Halloween 5, right? And all that shit. It's like
I still like Snoop is Snoop, and I love him, and he got to be a badass in this movie and have a really cool chain gun. Like that's the thing with this movie. It like high level understands the like tropes that every vampire movie needs to have, and it checks all those boxes. It knows that action heavy, like old school action heavy, like this reminded me of like Blade movies, the original Blade movies, with like that's where like vampires were done right, action was done right, it was R-rated. Blade movies still to this day are like the tippity top of fucking vampire like action franchises out there. And the remake of Blade better hold a torch to it because it's already done well. This movie understands all that, but then at the same time, the writing and the actual story itself is just so blah. Like in this like middle Netflix ground that it's enough because the rest is going to be really well produced and you're going to enjoy it regardless. So I wish Netflix could just do a good story for once.
Yeah, it's like they go, well, we have Jamie Foxx and Snoop Dogg and Dave DeFranco. That's good enough. Like the story is generic as fuck. The villain gets no like background at all. Like her background in the story is, oh yeah, she had a daughter who got turned into a vampire late, and like they don't
even like show like you learn that, but you only learn that through exposition. They don't even show like a flashback or anything to give that context.
You know what else pissed me off real bad that I hate?
Oh yeah, spoiler.
I mean, this is on Netflix, so like if you're watching this and you're interested in this film, I feel like you watch this, right? Like it's kind of good thing with like the other thing that made me mad about this movie. I hate when films do this is they fucking tease these grenades. Oh, this is garlic and wood, blah blah blah, and then they have multiple scenes where you go, okay, they could use this and like to whoop like the whole bunch, like the house scene. It would have been like, and then the fucking like the brothers dropped some other grenade, and that wasn't obviously the same one. And they're like,
are you sure? Like, maybe it was, and it was like so underwhelming because like.
But well, then why would the other brothers have it? That was like the Jamie Foxx, and he even like, oh, I've never tested this out. So you have this like you set up like, oh, something crazy is gonna happen when they. Nope, don't ever do it, and it's like. What? Don't like fucking do something like that in a movie like this. It's like you have all these action pieces and action sets where you can fucking do this grenade and like make something blow up or do something really cool. And it's like
mangoes.
Mangoes. What? Dude, the action coordinator in this movie did a really, really good job. Like
hell yeah.
Whoever it was, like the house scene is fucking awesome, and it's like I was talking to you beforehand.
But even the
like
beginning of the movie, it starts off and like right in your face, and you're like, "Holy fuck!" Like that was whoa, that was awesome. And then it's into and like it keeps that pace for the most part because there's nothing to hold it together. And again, the runtime for us, perfection.
It's under it was like an hour and 50 something minutes, right? And like they do the thing though,
less
like,
than that.
I thought it was like an hour 57 or something like that. Yeah, it's an hour 53 on IMDb.
Okay, well,
but
yeah,
like,
under 2 hours is just like that's our world.
Also, there's so like the ideas in this film are really cool, man. Right? Like I really, really like the idea of like this group guild that buys and sells vampire fangs. Because they like are keeping the world clear. It brings up this like idea of you can do some really cool stuff in it, but like it never fleshes much out in this film, right? Like it's always like giving you half pieces of information, right? It's like
so the reason the stunts were done so well is because the director of the movie, this is his first directing job, but he's done 149 different credits in the stunts. And some of his movies he did stunts for were John Wick 2, Fast 9, and like he did Gemini Man too. So now he's in the Netflix world, and he's done all the Fast and the Furious movies and shit. Like he's up there. He knows what he's doing with stunts. Yeah. You can tell. He was probably second unit director for a lot of stuff too. And it's just like the natural progression. He's like, you know what? I've been doing all the fun stuff. But that also explains so much about this movie then why all the action and everything was directed and done so well. But the rest of the movie is like...
The script was the problem, right? And it's not bad. We're not saying it's bad. It's just like you said, they're going, it's like, this movie's like a C plus B minus range. It could have been like a B plus A minus kind of range if the script would have been like a little bit better. Like if they would have like...
Why?
It was like you stapled scenes together with the cheapest Office Max stapler you can track down, right? This is what it kind of feels like. It's like, this is here, and Jamie Foxx needs money, and Snoop Dogg. Like, I still think that the word, like my least favorite part of this whole movie was the boss guy, the guild, the Seeger guy with his weird ginger mullet that like just yelled at everyone at that time.
It didn't feel like I don't know. It didn't. There was like characters like him, and honestly, the main like bad chick. They felt like they were just such flat characters, and both of them held so much power over the rest of the movie and the cast and everything. But other than them just being dicks, I didn't feel that like need for them. And I wish, there was just more emphasis on that, just for like 1 or 2 scenes to like set it up.
Yeah. Well, they had this whole setup with the bad chick, and they're like, I think her name is Heather, right? The Natasha Leo Bordizzo, I think is her name. And she like, they go from having her like be this like, oh yeah, she's this like real estate agent vampire who's just trying to set up LA for being this vampire thing, but barely talk about that. And then like, they're like, that's the reason why there's all these vampires in this house. But then the only thing that she cares about for the second half of the movie is that Jamie Foxx killed her old lady daughter, because by the time she was a vampire and found her daughter, it was like she was an old lady. And you sit there and go, like, the motivation is like, isn't like, you don't get enough that you're like, okay, I really don't like this lady. It's just like, they're like, okay, she's a vampire and she wants to kill Jamie Foxx. That's all you need to know. It's like, yeah, for just having a fun time. Yeah. But like, it's like, you have so many cool ideas. You have so many like the guild for the vampires, and like the thought of like, even like every part, like there are so many partial ideas it seems like they chucked into this movie, like the sunscreen, with the vampires are wearing sunscreen, and it's just like for like one joke when the vampire runs outside and then they find all the sunscreen when they're like raiding their place at the end. It's like there's so many just little things like that where they just don't. And I don't think it's the director's fault. I think it's the script. I don't think the script was super, like, they were like, oh, we get Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco, who Dave Franco is probably my favorite part of this whole movie. Like when he talks about getting the orange stuff in his butthole and it's worse than you could have ever imagined. And also,
all those like little throwaway scenes, without them, this movie really wouldn't have had anything else, right? So they were very important, and James Franco was perfectly cast, and perfectly like he's him and his brother like are, well, actually maybe not so much his brother anymore. He's kind of not like a typecast person anymore.
No, he got me too'd. That's what happened with James Franco.
Oh, right. No, I'm talking about his career choices in movies and stuff. Like he was doing a lot of different things where it was harder to like typecast him. Whereas his brother and like someone like Channing Tatum, like seeing them in the same movies or whatever, like they are typecast to those roles because that's just who you see them as. So they play that same character, and he's really good at it. And the comedic relief is amazing. So
it is. He's got like the funniest scenes. Like every time he finds a vampire, he pisses himself, and also
it's so over the top, but so good.
Yeah, it's so funny. The other thing that this movie that made me laugh. Apparently in this universe, when you get turned into a vampire, you automatically know kung fu or some shit like that. Because like James Franco and that chick who were like, she's another potentially cool character that they care about her, but like why? Yeah. There's no you don't give me anything to care about her with. It's like, and she helps out Jamie Foxx, and she does all this stuff, and you're like, okay, cool, but like there's not fucking reasoning. Like it's you sit there and you enjoy the ride and you're like, oh, this is fun, blah blah blah, but you're like, why do we care about her? Like, she's a vampire who's just gonna help us, and you get really and it's like they explain it with one line, she turned me against my will, and it's like, but that's not enough to like go back on all this shit. And it's just like, it's the same thing like where they have Snoop Dogg come out at the end. Why did Snoop Dogg survive even though he got blown up? Because he's Snoop Dogg.
Because he's Snoop Dogg. That's it. Like, that's what I saw. Like when he came out of that, and I'm just like, yeah, it's Snoop Dogg. You're not allowed to just kill off Snoop Dogg. He's too valuable.
Yeah. Well, you sit there and you go, is he a vampire now? Because one, you don't know all the rules of vampires in the universe. Like well,
at least they didn't spoon feed it. Like he's alive and come up with your own conclusion. Either that or he's a fucking vampire.
Or he's undead, yeah, just like James Franco.
Yeah.
Also, they never explain, and it took me a second to realize, like in the whole scene where they capture Jamie Foxx's like wife and daughter, that was Franco on the floor. Like I had no clue, because they don't explain how they got him. They don't explain like they like later on they're like, he goes, she tortured me, and it's just like, huh? And it's just like, you're not, if you're entertaining me along the process, like with like, oh, okay, they make a lot out of like the comedic timing of James Franco getting his head cut off and like being goofy with it for the end of the movie, and then him being a vampire. But it's like, this motherfucker was like a pacifist who wouldn't hold a gun, and then he becomes a vampire, and he's like fucking kung fuing everyone into the fucking next century. It's like him and this just neighbor lady are taking out the like butler attack assassin vampire for the main chick, and then they rip him in half like a wishbone, and I'm like, what the fuck? Also, it was an interesting choice, and it kind of goes along with like what I was talking about earlier about is this a PG-13 or an R-rated movie? Like the vampires have black
on the line blood. Of that a lot, you know. So
yeah, well, the vampires have black blood, which makes it seem like they're trying to like, you know, like PG-13 it down, because it's red blood that's the problem, right? Like if you have red blood, it's like when you start getting R-rated and blah blah blah. It's on Netflix. But then
I like dark blood way more. I think it's way like
it always seems more like a demon-y thing, right? Like with demons and all that shit. But like I don't have a problem with it. But then like and that was really what I was talking, because I talked about that with my wife before we got to the raid scene at the end, where they're just murdering people, and you see like blood clouds because they're shocking the shit out of everyone from like 5 feet away. You're just like, holy Jesus Christ. It's like,
yeah, the end scene, like they definitely climax the shit out of this movie for sure.
Yeah. It's just, that's in kind of what I'm talking about. Like, it's this weird combinations of tones, and which is a script issue, I think, more than anything, like I said, where you're like, it's like pure action, pure comedy, and then like the horror elements, and it's like,
yeah, but did you see The Gray Man? Like, did you watch that? So like it honestly, it feels very similar to all the issues The Gray Man had as well. Like they had awesome A-list actors up top doing what they do best. Like they brought it. Yeah. But it all falls flat on the stupid fucking story that is so cliche. It's just because Netflix is like, you know what? We don't have a really cliche movie in insert genre. Like, that's it. And they're like, you know what we should do? Create a very cliche thing that instead of having this property on our service, let's just
make all the things.
Well, not even like let's find that genre and all the things that make those 3 top movies in that genre a thing that everyone remembers. Let's just do those things and not give any reason to why it's even in this insert title here movie for our Netflix platform.
Yeah.
Go. Well, I mean, it's like the Moneyball for movies.
Yeah. It's the we let an AI write a script and made them watch 1,000 hours of generic action film, and this is the script that the AI came up with.
It does feel like AI.
Well, dude, it's this film, and like, and we're even talking about like the color palette. The color palette of all these films are all like oversaturated, like we're talking about. But then like all the way back to like that was it Red Room, with the Rock and Ryan Reynolds, where like they were the only saving grace of that thing. You can tell it's just like they had like, it's like they make these films and they have like 15 check boxes that whoever's making the film has to check, like oversaturation, big star, blah blah blah, and then they have like a sub box of like, okay, this is a vampire movie, so vampires can't be in mirrors. You stake them in the heart or cut the head off. Like they have specific check boxes under that, but like it is like the Adam Project was the other one, the sci-fi one that you were talking about with Ryan Reynolds and the with he comes back to himself, and that movie had a lot of the same problems too. I see. The thing is, like, the varying degrees of how fun these films are has a lot to do with the cast, right? Which is what I think that they're not putting as much money into scripts. They're putting it into the actors and the cinematography
and making sure they got the right cameras to use, because it's got to aesthetically look like. Well, look at this poster. Like they get it on like visual, like they understand, but like but they gotta figure out the script writing 100%.
I think that's the biggest issue, because it's like, believe me, I said last night in my Discord after I watched it, I was like, I'm trying to figure out how I feel about this film, and then I was like, this morning I was like, I liked it. It's just like you sitting there, you go, it feels artificial, you know, like, you know, when you have like a candy bar or some like food you've never had before, like usually processed shit, and it's like it tastes good, and then like afterwards you have this weird aftertaste in your mouth, and that's kind of what it's like. It's like you're making Butterfingers that like they leave a weird taste in your mouth after you have them. You're like, this is tasty, and then afterwards you go, what is it? Tastes like a raccoon shit in my mouth. Why is it like that? And it's just like, that's the kind of thing that's just like, and I you know what, it might be because of their target audience, man. They're not aiming at cinephiles like you and me. They are fucking shotgun spreading out these films to the widest audience possible.
100% feels like Moneyball for movies on a Netflix scale. Like, it's going out to such a wide audience, but they know their audience so well because of analytics. They know what everyone's clicking on. They already have AI that like instantly knows if you personally are scrolling through. Like, I even heard up to a point where there's some series that will put, because you are searching through it, it will put different episodes to number one, because it's not like an episodic type series. It will change the you know, episode 1, 2, 3 for you, and suggest what you will watch and want to watch more, and make it more enticing for you to actually watch it. That's in turn will keep you on the platform longer, and all the posters change automatically as well. And like, because I watch a lot of like Corridor Crew on YouTube and stuff, and they do a lot of like that deep fakes and AI stuff for like changing of like the way the mouths move when it's dubbed. And they're going to start potentially, because of all this like new technology that is you know, like you can change the green screen stuff in real time and everything. There's going to be like real-time rendering of AI mouth dub overs. So when you're watching stuff that is like originally Korean but dubbed over in English, it will actually look like they're speaking English, because it's going to real-time render, or they'll, you know, as they go on, re-render these things out. But like, if they get that technology built in, there's going to be so much crazy shit that AI is going to be too powerful, man.
Well, dude, I'm thinking about it because after we watched it last night, I was sitting there hanging out. I was on my phone or something. And my wife was like, "Oh, she put Men in Black 2 on," because it was right there in the Netflix right after. And Frank the pug, and he's talking, and it's like, it's amazing how good that dog looks in that movie still.
Yeah.
But if you stare and concentrate on his mouth when he's talking and not like watching the rest of it, you can tell how, I mean, because it's a dog, it's not really talking, right? And
yeah, no way. Are you kidding me? It's that dog isn't talking for Rod.
Nope.
Rod,
Nope.
Are you kidding?
Nope. I'm
no
not kidding.
way, Rod. I can't
swear.
What?
I swear to God, to the foreskin I don't have anymore. That I'm not lying.
You don't have a foreskin?
Nope.
Oh my God!
The foreskin fairy stole it when I was a small child. But that's the kind of stuff that's like, it is so like, because the thing is, when you watch like those dubbed movies, right? Like, especially like, I've talked about Korean films a lot and a little bit with Japanese and stuff like that. But like, when you go and you have the
wait, what? You've talked about Korean movies? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, it's fucking insane. But no, like when you see the like, they'll have like a varying degree of what the idea is or the sentence they try to translate, right? And sometimes like a sentence could be, you can get a way more across in English than you can in Korean, or way more in Korean than you can get in English. So like, you'll have like a really long sentence on the screen, and it's like, then they're like, yeah, I agree. And it's like, what? Like, you get, it's like, it doesn't translate right. Yeah, exactly. And you're just like, huh? And that, it will be interesting to see what happens though, because if that's the case and they make that's one of those big, like,
I've already seen like it's still in its like infancy, but like the amount of technology that I've already like come across for AI stuff, like it's a lot of it is like with your camera, like your webcam is like, it knows where you're looking on your screen all the time. Like, you already know that technology exists, but like there's stuff now that like, depending on what you're watching, it will have, put your face through AI learning and whatever, and present characters on the screen that look more like you, so you like them more and stuff. Like, it will change their appearance to look more like you, or like they will be able to, if you're underage and you're watching something that is in like a bar, all the stuff on the bar will then turn into Pepsi, and like the stuff in the background for like advertisements to keep it current, because they already do this on TV shows and stuff that are on Netflix, like How I Met Your Mother, like hires people to re-render out posters in the background of the show to keep it current for a new generation. And like that stuff will, once AI catches up, will be able to render that shit in real time to like the syndication deals for advertising and stuff in the background will be able to be updated and resold. In like different, it's fucking crazy, man. To think about.
Have you played around with the AI image generators at all?
I've done it through people. I'm on a waiting list to get into one of the Discords of one of them to start messing around. So I don't know. I'm interested to see, just because I'm also like an artist, a graphic artist, to see like my main question. Now we're completely ADD off the rails, but this is such a cool topic to talk about. Like I really want to know, like, what are the like copyright things? Like, who owns the copyright if an AI create something that you personally asked it to? How can you use it, and what are the like legalities behind that? Because I acquire royalty-free images and licenses for brands and like my own material and stuff all the time, but like this is a weird, uncharted, like kind of pirate territory, like Wild West right now. Like, what are the legalities behind this?
Are we going to be in a future where like, if I use your filter on a picture on Instagram, am I going to have to pay you? Like, say some image I make blows up, and then like they're like, okay, now you owe us 15 cents every time someone views this. Not,
well, it's not an NFT, but like,
something like that. It's an interesting concept. Well, I mean, we correlated here because this movie is like Netflix in general there's a reason we ended up here, because the Netflix is using AIs more than any other streaming service, and you could tell, tell because they're the ones who've been in the streaming service game longer than they were the original streaming service, right?
Yes.
And they were the first ones that at first it was just a website, that had movies that you would get in the mail, but then they've been around so long and they've, and so they have the most experience, they have the most, data, they have all this stuff that is just from like you're talking about, like you're watching histories and all this stuff, intending stuff towards what you would want, and that's why they have profiles, right? So like you can have 7 people in your house watching different things on that streaming service on Netflix, and for one person it's going to be like, hey, you want to watch this documentary about movie posters? For someone else it's going to be, hey, here's 7 new murder mystery true crime documentaries because you like true crime documentaries, and it's all that stuff. It's like
many people love true crime documentaries. Like, dude, so many people.
Dude, the fucking true crime podcasts are just like, there are so many women that are just like, I listen to all the true crime, documentaries, right? And it's like, it's an interesting concept because like we see what Netflix is doing with it. And I feel like Netflix is going to end up being in the next 5 to 10 years above and beyond anyone else, because I think that these things like Day Shift and the Adam Project and all the stuff that we brought up in this episode are giving them those go aheads,
right?
That other companies don't have, right? Like HBO Max and stuff like that, like, and the whole Discovery thing and how they're not putting out Batman, Batgirl, and all this stuff. It's like all these other companies are so far behind, even when their quality of content is there. They don't have the data. They don't have the years of expertise. They don't have all these things that Netflix does. And it's like for every film like Day Shift is just like, well, I mean, it's like my wife watches these Christmas movies on Netflix where they do new ones every year. And it's like, they don't have to advertise. They don't have to do anything. It's because you're on your Netflix account that you've had for 15 years. You boot it up and, hey, the new Christmas movie, it's like, she's done like 3 Christmas movies about these twins that every year it's like 2 people that look exactly the same, and the next year there's like a 3rd one, and then the next year there's a 4th one. All these stuff, and but that's the thing. Like, because Netflix exists, already has their audience, already knows their demographics that they have to fill. They don't have to use half of the marketing budget that normally would have had to, or the distribution budget that is massive for other like production houses. It almost makes sense that they do and have been able to acquire all these A-listers because they're able to pay them probably way more than any other studio is willing to at the same time. And once the movies actually start to get to the same level as everything else we've been talking to, they could be very unstoppable. I hope, because like if you're doing, but even Net or Disney, they have everything at their disposal, but they're so like they do everything by their own Bible. Yeah, it's to their own detriment now, and it's just everything feels the exact fucking same. It fits in that exact fucking box. Netflix still is blipping outside of that own, like feeling like they're putting everything in a box, but I hope Netflix can do the other thing. So after the end of this movie sets up for a sequel that they would probably call Night Shift, right? Because the whole thing, when Jamie Foxx gets back into the what do you call it? Why am my brain the group of
why
people
am my brain
why am my brain not work smart good? He gets put on Day Shift because that's like the non-dangerous version because there aren't vampires running around, but Night Shift makes more money, I guess. And at the end of the movie, Dave Franco has been turned into a vampire, and Jamie Foxx is still in there and everything like that. So they set it up where it's going to be a vampire with who used to be like a nerd is now like a kick-ass vampire hunter with Snoop Dogg's hat. and they just set it up, and they could do all this stuff, and Snoop Dogg could either be the villain or could come back as a vampire or whatever the fuck they set up for Snoop Dogg. Because it really seemed like Snoop Dogg was a vampire then, but they don't tell you.
They don't say it.
Yeah, and it's just like I just want the scripts in these films just to be a little bit meatier, just a little bit. It doesn't even have to be super meatier, just like a little bit, because like
we don't want a steak. We just want like a good tasty hamburger. But I think that's what they're almost giving you. It's not a steak. They don't want it to be a steak. Yeah. But then at the same time, they did make that like Scorsese film that, so they're still kind of blipping and doing those things. But like I still didn't watch it. I don't want to fucking watch a 3-hour movie. Like I don't have a diaper.
4-hour movie. I think that movie was even longer. I already have to pee, and we have been streaming or recording for 55 minutes. So like, yeah, but that's the thing though. Like the thing with Netflix and streaming in general, like, is that 4-hour films are way easier to digest for you and me at home than like going to fucking like. Did you see Snyder's Justice League in the IMAX? Did you just watch it on HBO Max?
Which yeah. I didn't. Did it go to the theaters?
I thought it was in a limited amount of theaters.
Oh right, it just went to like IMAX.
Yeah,
because it was literally that's the only way they put it out. Was the whole thing was literally IMAX. So everyone watched a fucking Square movie at home, and I did too. I watched the fucking black and white Square movie like everyone else.
Yeah, man. It's funny because it's. I think that this movie, leading to the talk we've had, is about right, because you mentioned us being ADHD, but like the thing is, this movie's a lot of fun, but like. It's like one of those things when when you eat too much like candy or something like that, or like too much, fast food or something like that, and you're like really stuffed, but then like all of a sudden right after you're really hungry again, like you get hungry real fast, and you're like, oh man, I could really use some more food or whatever, and it comes out of nowhere. This stuff is like tasty, but it doesn't leave you like.
Honestly, I think you're onto something, man, because it's Netflix. They want you to stay after and watch more. They don't want you to be so satisfied that you go to bed. They want you to stay up and binge another show for 12 hours instead of I think we just cracked the code.
Yeah. Yeah, because if it's too bad, then you're going to turn it off, and if it's too good, you're like then you're like Then you're on like YouTube.
Then you would rewatch it again, Like there's no rewatchability in any of their new shit that came out. It's so forgettable that you're like, okay, well, yeah, I watched a movie with one of my favorite actors in it. What was it called again?
Yeah.
Was it a Netflix movie? I don't even. It's so throwaway. Like The Gray Man, throw it away.
Well, it's funny though, because like you talk about it, like you talked about that. Because they're not the only ones trying to do it. Amazon's trying to do it, but Amazon's
new Lord of the Rings. Like I got to put it side by side because there's a new what is the dragon something or other?
The House of Dragons, the new Game of Thrones show.
So like that looks like Lord of the Rings stuff looks so much more compelling, well done. Like just everything about it just looks like they poured, because Amazon's, they're still very new in the this world of creating their own content and like being part of the conversation as much as Netflix and HBO Max and stuff are really there. Even Paramount is doing like a better job than Amazon at this point. But that all being said, the new Lord of the Rings, it looks fucking way better than the new Dragon show that just looks like they're like, well, we can't stop. It was our biggest show. Like that's all it feels like. We can't.
Well, what's funny is because they have that, and then they're doing the Jon Snow show also, and it's like they're not letting it go, and it's like I keep saying George R.R. Martin's never going to finish those books.
No,
he's never.
Why would
he? Came out 11 years ago, and if you read these last two books, which was like two books, it was one book split into two books. This motherfucker has no
he's gonna
idea.
Disappoint everyone regardless of what he does. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna die rich and happy.
Yeah. Dude, that man will write like for 2 pages about a feast. He loves to describe his food.
And then kill everyone so he gets more food. Right.
I want to compare things because this is I think is like all this comparison with like Amazon. Like, you know that really bad Chris Pine movie that came out last year with the aliens and the time travel and all that stuff?
That's like Netflix throwaway. Yeah.
But the way you talked about it was not even, it doesn't even have that level of entertaining that you were like, oh, I had fun. Like Day Shift is a perfect example. This movie is fun. But like 6 months from now, I'll be like, oh, that movie was fun. I will remember nothing about it. I will remember like Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco being funny and like, and having a good time with it. But like,
so Netflix feeling now that you bring it up, like totally feels like what they're doing at Netflix now.
Yeah. And HBO is doing these Amazon Prime is doing these shows that the movies trying to do that same kind of thing and just aren't doing.
But I guess Amazon does have The Boys, and that is like really in the conversation, and it's like, yeah.
That one though is more of going out and reaching that level of content with stuff that was out there that these really smart people like Seth Rogen were like, we need like his production house. He just went to fucking
Seth
Amazon
Rogen is producing the next TMNT, and I'm super excited about that. Put it in his hands. He grew up the same time period as us. He loves the same stuff we do, but the level of just like he understands it. Everything I've watched that he has had a hand in producing has been fucking fantastic. I'm not talking like comedy stuff like Preacher and fucking everything. He just he gets it. He understands what he has and what he's allowed to do. And now TMNT being in his hands, I'm so fucking happy to hear that.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
So too. Well, because like I don't know if you watched both the Michael Bay Turtle movies. Like,
yes, I did. I didn't hate them, man.
They felt hollow. They felt hollow, like we've been talking about.
They felt like Michael Bay.
Hollow. Yeah, Michael Bay is hollow. It's very true. And yeah, I hope they do something really good, man, because those were my childhood. Like the Turtles were my favorite as a kid, and I remember back playing the Nintendo game, which still gets shit on to this day because it has one of those most frustrating levels of all time where you're swimming underwater and the electrical shit and all that stuff. Yeah. But no, I want Amazon. I mean, I want Netflix to keep doing it, like, because I
check out my Casey Jones poster. It's great.
Yeah. But I did enjoy this movie, and it had that same kind of charming. And I don't want anyone listening to this episode to think I don't. I'll tell you, go watch this movie if you have a couple hours and you're like, oh, I don't know what to watch. Watch this. It's fun. It's got a lot of cool vampire like things. Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco. It's just like, it just feels like you ate all this stuff and then you're still hungry after it, and it's just
Casey Jones. Here's my Casey Jones poster. Whoop.
Yeah, it's pretty dupe.
Whee!
Pretty dope.
Delete.
But yeah, so I just want them to keep doing cool stuff, and I just hope that as they build up these universes, they realize that, like, I'm not saying you spend like pay Hollywood's top fucking scriptwriter to do these movies, but you guys can't keep relying on your fucking charisma of your top stars to make these movies worth watching.
Seriously.
Because like, it's
the poster is fucking amazing. I don't know, like I think everyone knows at this point what they're getting with a new Netflix movie, and like the trailer gives away every good part. They know that you're just going to watch it anyways. The rest of it does feel like filler, but because the action scenes are so over the top and very well done, it's popcorn. Grab a bag, put it in your microwave, or do it old school style, like on Scream, Jiffy Pop on, and just have a fucking night with your significant other on the couch,
kids or whatever.
Netflix.
Like, yeah. Well, dude,
not so much kids.
I mean, if they're like 12 or 13, I'm don't put your 8-year-old in front of this. Like, this film, like the action scene in the house is one of the better directed action scenes I've seen in a long time. And if you talked about the guy's background, the director's background, you see it in that, and you see it in all the action scenes of this film that are very good. It's just and you're sitting there watching it and go, this is cool. And it's just like, I don't know. Did they did they take a bland hamburger and put a lot of like they put bacon and really good
There's
cheese?
So many pickles. There's so many pickles on this burger. If you don't like pickles, fuck off, get out of here, because there's a shit ton of pickles on this burger. Yeah. Like that, it's about it, right? Like the meat was, like that's the main course of a burger, and they just kind of like they used a frozen patty that's been sitting in the back of your freezer for a long time that is there, and you I don't know, but just because you put a bunch of ketchup and mustard and pickles and bacon, yeah, there's definitely bacon. Like you got Snoop Dogg here. He's always like he's awesome. So like you love bacon. I love Snoop Dogg. I love seeing him in anything, to be honest. Yeah. Like when he shows up, he just has that like gravity, that presence to him. He's just I don't know. He's fucking Snoop Dogg. Come on.
His scene with the minigun where he just annihilates 1 million people is fucking awesome. Also, every time he's next to Jamie Foxx is kind of funny because he's got like a foot on Jamie Foxx. It looks like the whole time. And then I always think they put him and Dave Franco next to each other because I think Dave Franco is about 5'0" and like Snoop Dogg is like 6'6", and it's just like, man. Snoop Dogg did a good job. Like you said it earlier, but he looked a little. I think he was a little intimidated by Jamie Foxx, right? And you could see that. But man, I would like to see a sequel of this film. It's called Night Shift.
It has legs. Like that's the thing. They understood every trope that I think we talked about this in another episode about just like, these are the types of tropes that I love to see in my vampire movies. And like these are, they understood and really made sure to check all those boxes. But that also sets it up for a universe now that the rules that they created and those like, they made it almost like Free Guy where, they have to go back to the bank and like and they gave it enough reason why Jamie Foxx's character exists in this universe because it's everything, right? So I don't know. Like I would definitely watch a sequel to this with these actors. Come on, like I'll watch them in a movie all the time, especially together.
I swear there was a Russian movie called Day Shift, but which was actually backwards, where it was the sequel to Night Shift. Do you remember those films? They were like Russian actiony, sci-fi, like supernatural-y movies. No. Where the famous scene was like a car driving up the side of a building and shit like that. I saw the first one and I think it was called Night Shift. And I could be like, I don't know. Here I'm going to look for it as I think of these ideas.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It was something like that. I see other movies called Night Shift, but yeah, it's a lot. But it's like we talk about this stuff because it we don't want to shit on it, but it's like what we keep talking. There isn't substance behind a lot of it, even though there's a lot of flavor.
There's a lot of pickles.
There's a lot of pickles, exactly. And so it's like, I think it's more interesting to talk about the stuff that's leading here, or where do we go from here, than like, because there's not. The plot is, Jamie Foxx's ex-wife is going to leave unless he gets.
I've always had a crush on her too. Like everything she's in, I'm just like, my God, you're gorgeous.
Oh, his wife is pretty, man. She's a pretty lady. And God, Jamie Foxx, how old is this motherfucker? Because he looks like not like he's in his 50s at this point, right?
But he's super fit. Like he's always like keeping it toned.
He's 55. Yeah, so he's born in 1967. Like, he'll be 55. He'll be 55 in December. Sorry,
he's
Jamie.
Seriously ageless.
Yeah,
but that works for him, especially as like an actor that can fill in different roles to stay looking the same age for decades. It really works for his longevity of his career too. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those actors, man, that like he does like so much. Like I think when I think of Jamie Foxx, I think of like things like him and that Tom Cruise. What the fuck is that movie where he was like the taxi cab driver and he was going around making him Tom Cruise was murdering people when Tom Cruise had that gray hair and Jamie Foxx he was forcing Jamie Foxx to drive him around and do a bunch of hits. I forget the name.
Collateral or something.
Collateral, yeah. That, and I think of things like I don't know why, but I think of Miami Vice, which was not a very good movie with him and Colin.
Those are
Farrell.
the go-tos when you think of Jamie Foxx. Seriously, that's kind of crazy.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like he's such a good actor, but I don't like. Actually, the first thing
he's
I thought
on, like,
of
TV too. Like he has like a game show with his daughter.
Does he?
Yeah.
Actually, the first thing I thought about before I thought about those other ones was Baby Driver when he
Beat
plays
Shazam.
Like
he's on Beat Shazam with his daughter.
I don't know what the fuck that is. I've never even heard of the thing you just said.
You know Shazam, when you put it up, like Google has it built in now too, and it will listen to the song and then tell you what song is playing. Shazam was the original app, but there's like a show where if you can name that song faster than Shazam can, then you like keep going up the board.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I think
him and his daughter on that, and they make it entertaining. They got a good little back and forth because they're related. She's got a good charisma.
If you didn't have Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco in this movie it would have been a not good movie. But they saved this film, and they their charisma again. It's another. They rely so much on these guys' charisma to keep them going, and it's like
pickles, man.
Too many pickles. Too many goddamn pickles.
He's even wearing green shirt.
I love his shirt, man. I love his fucking shirt in this movie. It reminded me of I played Max Payne 3 recently on my stream, and he's got this Hawaiian shirt with big parrots on it. But yeah,
nice.
Just quick. I don't know. Oh man, yeah. It's there's so much to like, and it's also the other thing that I think I kind of talked about it, like with the weird tone shifts, like these movies tone shifts being the way they are because they're trying to appeal to everyone. That's what's a little bit like you could see them trying to appeal to everyone. Like, hey, here's comedy. Hey, here's action. Hey, here's horror. And like you try to shock at everything, and it kind of makes the overall experience suffer a little bit because it feels like you're jolting. It's like you're going down a side street 20 miles an hour in your car, and then all of a sudden you're going 97 on the freeway, like with it's like you instantly go from 20 miles an hour to 70 miles an hour. It's like there's no in between, and that's another thing I think that's caused by that, like just broadband trying to get every single person like out there to enjoy their movie. So
I agree. I think we did bring that point up a few times in this episode, but it is like the main point to kind of bring up with like most, if not every Netflix movie is that right there. So if they can work on that, fix that. Like, I don't even know. Like
work on the scripts a little bit. To just improve your scripts a little bit, and they're like you can do something for everyone and it not be like that. Like Marvel is that perfect example of that, right? Marvel has this universe that everyone likes, or most people like, but
like in talking, like you and I or I talk about a lot skipping or trying not to watch trailers often and stuff. With that being said, though, like you watch a trailer for like what's coming out soon, like DC wise, like
Shazam and
like the trailers are like all right, they're kind of whatever, but like the new trailer for Wakanda Forever, holy fuck, is that a well cut, well scored mashup song. I legitimately had goosebumps. Like they crescendo it perfectly. They make me like a movie that I was just like, like what are they gonna do? I'm not overly like hyped about that movie. I watched that trailer. I cannot fucking wait to watch that movie now. It looks so good, cut so well, and Avatar's really got to take some notes from the person that put together that fucking trailer, because like Avatar has put all their eggs in the smallest little basket, and like then they, after 10 years, put out that piece of shit of a trailer. Like, come on, guys, get your shit together.
Coogler knows what the fuck he's doing, man. And I feel like that man is like deserves to be like, I'm amazed in between, like, did he direct anything between this and like, I think he did something like, he did that. He's done a bunch of other stuff in between, but like none of his other stuff in between.
Oh. See, like the importance to me, especially for music, I feel it. I understand, like, because I improvise on the drums and stuff, but like the amount of emphasis that was put in cutting to the music being the thing that led you down the path, and like it introduces it like throughout, and then the mashup comes, and then it swells without the R&B and rap stuff, and then comes back and mashes it back together, and then gives you that I'm like, fuck, like
dude, these really awesome Black filmmakers that do these like films and like use their music in ways that are so like how he did in the first fucking Black Panther, and how like essential it is to the film. And I think of the fucking Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That first film is like where like that music in that film is just fucking like banger after banger, and it just makes the experience like so much, like you get hyped up for the film and the soundtrack and all these things, and it's just like done so well. And like some of these directors are just like, they need more credit, and they need more like Coogler hasn't done anything since the first fucking Black Panther. He did Black Panther in 2018, and his next film is fucking Wakanda Forever, and it's like, Jesus, man, I don't know. It's just like you have all these fucking really talented motherfuckers, and it's just, I don't know. They need more things, man. I need Coogler doing something like outside of it, like does something else. Like he's like producing things like the Creed movies and shit like that, and
right.
Space Jam and shit like that. But
that one felt very like exactly this too. It was just like, okay, we're Warner Brothers. We have this property that was worth so much money, and there's been like 2 generations now that have no idea who any of these characters are. We have to attach this to a new basketball player and not understand that like Michael Jordan was like more than just like, obviously like LeBron is, got his accolades and stuff, but it's not Michael Jordan. Like, I don't know. Like it felt empty, that movie. It felt like it missed the mark. It was still entertaining. I love seeing those characters. They weren't done like bad or anything, but like it's the same problem done over and over and over again right now in Hollywood, especially with like big franchise stuff. Like they're in the wrong hands. Jurassic World is like a perfect candidate for this topic and conversation. Again, it's just like, stop. But this, with all that being said, now we want them to do that to Day Shift, make it a franchise so we can
it's like it gives you so much, and it makes such a cool universe, and all these possibilities, and you just go, wait, like we just want to see it done a little bit better, and just have that script a little bit like, touch those things that you talked about, and just give us a meal that doesn't make us hungry again in 20 minutes, right? Give us a meal that doesn't like just make us.
It's like when you go for Chinese food, you're like, man, that was so good. I'm so full. 20 minutes later, you're like, what the fuck? Did I even eat? Like, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
What's going
on? Okay. Well, I think that's all, man. I do enjoy this movie. Go watch it. It's just like a B movie, right? In a lot of ways, and which is fine, and it's fun, and like we keep talking about, but like, man, it's just like you're cock teasing. You're giving us blue balls, Netflix, and we don't need blue balls. Like, let us complete. Let us complete, so we don't get blue balls. So, I think next week is our we're doing The Fly with KDPP, so that should be a fucking blast. And first non-shark movie. KDPP. I'm sorry, KDPP. No, Katie Peters Plays.
We're not doing a shark movie. She even like showed a bunch of other shark movies that I was just like, oh my god, this like subgenre of I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's not even like, it's not even a subgenre anymore. It's just its own genre now. Shark movie genre.
After the last 2, Sharks of the Corn, and then the one with Alicia Silverstone, we were like, I just want to do something that is
something good.
Good, yeah, exactly. And it's been way too long since I watched The Fly, so I was like, yes. And then
what? Not the remake?
Yeah. Oh man. Not the original Fly from the 50s, no. No, the one from the 80s.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, Josh, I love your face, and it was interesting recording in the middle of Sunday.
I loved your face, Rod. Hey, there's your face. Hey, there's my face. There's your and my face. And I forget that I'm editing live like I always do. And now I'll put in a few more edits at the last second here to showcase my editing skills. Edit.
Yep. Okay, everybody. Please give us a 5-star review if you're listening on a podcast feed. Please subscribe to YouTube if you are listening there / watching there, and enable notifications. New episodes are out on Thursdays, but go to murdermoose.com. Go to Rod_Johnston on Twitter and Twitch. Go to joshwrb.com and joshwrb on Twitter and Twitch and Instagram and all those places. And just come give us a love because we love you. And I think that's about all.
And I'm doing a dance for no reason. You can't see that. If you're not on YouTube, you can't see it. So go to fucking youtube.com/ you can't even find us on there yet because we need you to subscribe so we can get to the threshold so we can get our own name on fucking YouTube. Exactly. It's become increasingly harder to accomplish these things on social media platforms because, I don't know, algorithms don't like human beings anymore. We're not AI enough for them, Rod.
We're not. I mean, I have an AI penis, but that's besides the point. And
well, he calls it Molder.
Coming soon to OnlyFans. Okay, everybody. Josh, I love your face. I will talk to you soon. I love you, buddy. And goodbye.
Bye. What the hell? Whoa.